The knights stood motionless as if welded to the ground, fear rooting their boots to ancient stone. The great hall of the citadel loomed around them, silent, shattered and grim. Across the chamber the vampire spectre lurked, its hollow eyes glowing like coals against pallid skin. It moved closer, slow and certain, as if death itself were gliding across the floor. They had no way out. It blocked the only exit. Black robes tattered and jagged, fanged mouth curled in wicked satisfaction. The air grew cold, as if the very stones had forgotten the warmth of day. Wormsley clenched his jaw. "Come on," he said, through gritted teeth. "We're not done yet, surely." Gallifant stepped forward, slowly, calmly, his sword raised to his side, steady in his hand. "Keep the faith, brothers," he said, his low voice firm and determined. In that moment, with just a few words, he reminded them who they were. Knights of Cloudkeep, bound by honour, tempered through adversity. Gideon followed his lead, raising his blade, Wormsley too, though his heart pounded like a drum. The spectre rose, relishing the moment, its dark wings spread wide, wrapping the hall in shadow. "I am a scythe," it rasped, "the scourge of empires, and you are nothing but mice caught in the jaws of the beast. There is no escape, no help coming. You will join the others. Quite the collection, don't you think?" It gestured towards the bones strewn across the flagstones. Bleached skulls in shattered helms, swords rusted through, the fallen of 100 years or more. "He's got a point," muttered Gideon. "Time to say our prayers." He lifted the hilt of his sword to his forehead, bowed slightly and began to murmur the ancient words. Wormsley followed suit, Gallifant too. Their voices joined in a hushed chorus, a prayer spoken not just for mercy but for courage. The hounds were close now, their howls unmistakably near. The spectre crept closer, its voice like a dagger in their minds. "You're helpless, desperate, nothing will save you." And then from deep within the halls of Gilgord, a light shone. A single blinding beam pierced the darkness. The spectre reeled, hissing in agony. In the great archway behind them, framed by golden fire bouncing off the stone, stood a figure, a knight, strong and still. He wore old iron plates dulled by time, a crimson cape hung from his shoulders, and across his left arm draped a weathered wolf's pelt. From his helm jutted a red plume, tall and rigid, the crest of some secretive lineage, feared by evil and unknown to many. He said nothing. In his hand he held a relic, an amulet, circular crystal, glowing with golden flame. The light poured outwards, washing over the hall like the first light of dawn. The spectre screamed and vanished, gone in a flicker of smoke and shadow, its final cry echoing into silence. Wormsley's jaw dropped. Who is that?" The knight didn't answer. He simply raised a hand and pointed, first to the shattered hall, then behind him. That was when they heard the howls, low, deep, dozens of them. Then came the thunder of hooves, the scrape of iron. From the breach in the wall, shapes poured in, hounds of darkness, their eyes glowing like crimson coals. Their limbs were lean and strong, their fangs slick with shadow. Behind them rode towering warriors in blackened plate, fallen knights of the void, hunters of the honourable. Gideon swore, "Fallen knights, traitors." "Yes," Gallifant said, "and they're here for us. Thankfully, there's only 4 of them." The stranger moved with precision. He raised the amulet high and the light burst out in a brilliant wave. The beasts flinched. Then he pulled a short, heavy glaive from over his shoulder and hurled it with perfect aim. It struck the lead rider squarely, sending him crashing from the saddle to the broken stone floor. At the sight of this, the remaining fallen knights turned and fled. "Now," shouted Gallifant, "we run!" They charged forward, swords drawn. hearts thundering. Steel met fang, claws scraped against flame. Wormsley kicked out as one hound snapped at his heels. "I liked it better when it was just the vampire," he yelled, bringing his sword down in a heavy arc, felling the beast as it lunged for him. "Less talking, more running," Gideon called out. They pushed through the chaos, dodging between rubble and roots. Gallifant felled the last hound in the courtyard with a swift stroke. The stranger's light guided them to the edge of the ruin, back towards the forest. And just as silently as he'd come, the night vanished into the mist, as if he'd never been there at all. The courtyard fell still, save for their ragged breath. "He's gone," Gallifant said softly. "He didn't say a word," murmured Wormsley, blinking. "He didn't need to," Gideon replied. Gallifant took one last look at the broken citadel. "Come on, let's get out of here, before the fallen return in greater numbers." They turned their backs to Gilgord, swords still in hand, and vanished into the trees. They retrieved their horses from the nearby farm and rode to the village. As they approached the Grainford Arms, they spotted a cart parked outside, emblazoned with a king's colours. The knights glanced at one another. "If he's in there," Wormsley muttered, "he's dead." Inside by the fire sat Sir Bodworth, cheerful, comfortable, and eating an enormous plate of meat and potato pie. "Where have you been?" Gallifant snapped, his eyes blazing as Gideon and Wormsley shook their heads. "Well, I found the king's cart," Bodworth replied, "ran into a bit of bother near Gilgord and decided to take the scenic route home. I got a little lost, but I found my way eventually." The three knights stared at him, aghast. "You're not the only one who ran into bother in Gilgord," said Gallifant with a long theatrical sigh. "We did too. We were looking for you." "Gilgord?" Bodworth chuckled, shaking his head. "I wouldn't go in there if I were you. Terrible place." The others roared with laughter. "We're glad you're safe, brother," Wormsley beamed. "Let's get some pie and ale," said Gideon. "Bodworth's paying." Bodworth blinked. "Eh?" "This bother you ran into," Wormsley asked, sitting beside him. "What happened?" "Oh, I was captured by some dark knights, but a stranger in a red cape rescued me." The others leaned in. "We saw him too," said Gideon. "Do you know who he is?" "Did he say anything?" "Not a word," Bodworth said, mouthful of pie. He chewed for a long moment, then added, "But I think I know who he is."